Hello and welcome to Gus McDoll Strategy and Tactics, and thank you to our subscribers. I'm Nick McDoll. Today we're continuing the Allied Grand Campaign in Close Combat A Bridge Too Far, a game based on the Battle of Arnhem, Operation Marketgarden. In this series we use the missions in the Allied Grand Campaign to illustrate one or more aspects of World War II infantry tactics at the company level and below. Each episode we conduct basic mission analysis, develop and analyse possible courses of action, then decide and execute the plan in real time followed by lessons learned. Please remember to like the video and subscribe for more great strategy and tactics content. And if you want to buy me a coffee, the links to PayPal and Patreon are in the description. In this episode we're in the Arnhem sector, the Arnhem Relief area of operations. Our objective is the Relief West approach. It is day 5 of Operation Marketgarden, 0600 hours on 21 September 1944. Relief West approach. You fought hard to secure this area in the Arnhem Bridge operation, but now the Germans threaten to take it back. Do everything you can to keep this avenue clear of enemy troops. This may be an impossible task because enemy troop strength will continue to increase while yours decreases. Your reinforcements should arrive on day 3. The road must remain in British hands so that Lieutenant Colonel Frost's men remain supplied and in contact with the rest of 1st Airborne. If you let the Germans take this area, your men will be cut off at the Arnhem Bridge. Let's examine our forces. As a result of my poorly planned and coordinated counterattack here yesterday, Lieutenant Hoffman's infantry company is very depleted and urgently needs reinforcement. Fortunately, the support assets are still in good shape. Worryingly, I only have 2 more projector infantry anti-tank or PAT teams in reserve, and no more anti-tank guns in reserve. Airborne Bren teams are the core of the British Army. They use a light machine gun, bolt-action rifles and hand grenades. Use them on the front lines, but they should run or hide from tanks. Airborne Rifle teams use bolt-action rifles and hand grenades. The team leader is armed with a submachine gun. Use rifle teams on the front lines and to hold victory locations. They are useless against tanks. Airborne PAT teams consist of an anti-tank bomb projector, a bolt-action rifle and hand grenades. Not as effective as the Panzerschreck, the PAT's effective range is 8 to 80 metres. Airborne 6-pounder light anti-tank gun teams also contain rifles and grenades. Best used as an anti-tank weapon, this gun is also effective against infantry targets. Its high rate of fire makes up for its low armour penetration. Airborne 3-inch medium mortar teams also contain bolt-action rifles and hand grenades. Because mortars can shoot over obstacles, position these teams behind buildings or trees. Use them to suppress enemy infantry and lay smoke screens. Airborne Vickers medium machine gun teams also include bolt-action rifles and hand grenades. Position these teams in multi-story buildings or locations with long lines of sight so they can suppress enemy infantry. Next, let's look at the map and do some mission analysis. I will develop a plan and then execute it in the game. Our mission is to defend the Relief West approach in order to enable supply and reinforcement to our troops at Arnhem Bridge. We have an infantry company from the British 1st Airborne Division consisting of 2 Bren sections, 5 rifle sections and 2 PAT teams. They have a 6-pounder anti-tank gun, 2 Vickers medium machine gun detachments and 2 3-inch mortars in support. North is towards the bottom of the map. Once again, my focus is on the eastern or left side of the map from where the Germans will attack. I have marked 5 areas. Number 1, the 2-storey stone building marked the orphanage, which overlooks movement along the riverfront and the streets. Number 2, the crossroads around Remens Plain, as the buildings here have long lines of sight down all the key roads and effectively control movement from east to west. In previous battles, this area has proven to be decisive terrain, and I expect it will be again. Number 3, the area around the rail station and rail depot, with the road to Oosterbeek to the south. This is likely to be the Germans' final objective. The single-storey stone rail depot building offers excellent cover and concealment and has a long line of sight up the road into the Remens Plain crossroads. Number 4, a number of single-storey warehouses that do not provide any obvious offensive or defensive advantage and are overlooked by 3-storey buildings in adjacent blocks. The 2-storey stone Hotel Kaiserskron building in the centre is a possible firing position for machine guns. And number 5, the rows of 3-storey houses north of the Rhine, such as von Sundt's house, that control the road to Arnhem Bridge with good observation and lines of fire down the streets. These streets afford the most likely avenue of approach. I assess the enemy will again attempt to clear the British from this area in order to isolate the airborne forces at Arnhem from reinforcement and resupply. With 30 Corps closing in on Arnhem, this will be a last-ditch attempt for the Germans to achieve a decision in this sector, and they are likely to bring everything they have left. Based on previous battles, the enemy's most likely course of action remains to use one or more tanks to support an infantry assault on a wide front. One platoon would attack through the von Sandshaus area. Another platoon would attack through the Hotel Kaiserskron area. The tanks could hang back and provide suppression at a distance. Or they could rely on speed and shock action to break into the defensive position, firing at close range to destroy the cohesion of the defenders, allowing the supporting infantry to overrun the position in a frontal or flanking attack. This could force me to either withdraw from the area or face destruction. In recent battles, the enemy has brought more and heavier tanks. The enemy's most dangerous course of action, therefore, is to attack with tanks in large numbers with the object of breaking through and overrunning our defended localities. The infantry, meanwhile, would attack along the river with the intent of capturing the orphanage and turning the flank of the British defensive position. Then, one by one, they would roll up the entire position. This would destroy my forces in the area and cut off Frost's men at the bridge. I will continue to develop the defensive plan from previous battles in this area. The anti-tank component still sees the primary engagement area in the Ruhmensplain crossroads, covered by the 6-pounder anti-tank gun firing up the street from the single-storey stone railway depot building. This is supported by the 2 Piat teams each side of the crossroads. The anti-personnel component still sees the hedgehog approach that has been successful in previous battles. One refinement is that the enemy always tried to take von Sandshaus and then assault forward from there to turn my right flank. So I've repositioned a Vickers to fire down the streets either side of von Sandshaus and have pushed a rifle section forward to cover the orphanage and my right flank. There is some risk in using the same plan over and again, even with minor variations. You get predictable, whereas the enemy gets to innovate. But I accept that risk, as this plan makes the best use of available terrain and resources. Adopting a completely different scheme of defence at this stage is not a good idea. Tanks are likely to attack in large numbers with the object of breaking through and overrunning our defended localities. Extensive bombardment and dive bombing will normally precede the launching of the attack. The attack is usually led by a mass of tanks whose object is the destruction of our anti-tank guns. The tanks will be followed by infantry, who destroy any centres of resistance left by the tanks and exploit success. Reserve infantry and anti-tank guns may be brought up to carry out encircling attacks from a flank. I have now moved my troops into position and will execute the plan in real time. Let me know in the comments below what you think of the various courses of action and if you have identified a viable alternative. And don't forget to like the video and subscribe for more great strategy and tactics content. And so we begin. A Jagdpanther. This is a heavy tank with an 8.8 cm main gun. Also an Aufklärer recon squad. British forces remain concealed for now. A Flammenwerfer squad moving into position. And a Schützen squad crossing the road between buildings. The enemy are definitely forming up for an assault on the British position. A Granatwerfer mortar in the open. A tempting target for the British rifle section. A lot more German troops pushing forward. And a second Jagdpanther. This should be fun. The Germans are pushing forward. Once again, they all seem to be making for von Sandshaus. Pope's 3-inch mortar opens a counter-battery fire mission on the enemy Granatwerfer. Anderson's 3-inch mortar opens a fire mission to suppress the Germans advancing in the open. Corporal K's rifle section opens up. The Vickers does not yet have a target. Sergeant Lee's forward right rifle section targets the advancing Germans. The Schützen squad takes the first casualty. Troops are crossing the road and the Vickers opens up. Meanwhile, we have detected a third tank, a Tiger. The Germans are serious. The Germans have taken the Hotel Kaiserskron objective and are advancing on both flanks simultaneously. This could be a very tough fight. The Flammenwerfer flamethrower squad has taken the von Sandshaus objective. The mortar and Sergeant Lee's forward right rifle section immediately switch targets. Two squads are advancing on my left flank through the warehouses. And on the right flank, a Panzerschreck squad is moving towards the orphanage. The Vickers switches targets.
Conserve ammunition.
Until now, the tanks have hung back. But now all three are on the move. The Vickers can't find a target and goes to ground. One Jagdpanther is moving to the British right flank. The Tiger is pushing up the middle. And the second Jagdpanther is hanging back. A reserve squad moves into a warehouse directly opposite the British front line. Both tanks are pushing forward aggressively. This is looking very dicey for the British. But this is why we have a plan. The Tiger tank is almost in the engagement area at the Remmensplein crossroads. The 6-pounder prepares to fire from the rail depot building up the street. But the Tiger remains frustratingly just out of the line of fire. The Jagdpanther now moves up. Both tanks are inside the British defensive position and on the edges of the anti-tank engagement area. And a third remains in reserve. Meanwhile, the Germans have laid smoke in the Rumen's Plain crossroads. Bosco's Piat team can't quite get the shot and moves into a better firing position. Miller's Piat does not have a shot either.
We're under heavy fire.
The 6-pounder still does not have a shot. Then the Jagdpanther starts to creep forward. The tanks are hurting my forward rifle sections. Curtis from Bosco's Piat team fires and misses. At the same time, the Flammenwerfer fires at Sergeant Lee's forward right rifle section and misses. Lee's men retreat. Not soon enough, and another burst from the flamethrower results in a casualty. Hackett's Vickers targets the flamethrower and scores a hit. Curtis fires and misses. On the front left flank, Corporal Kelly is dead and his rifle section suppressed by the Tiger tank. The Jagdpanther is now in the engagement area, but the 6-pounder has trouble getting the shot. Yes, the 6-pounder knocks out the Jagdpanther with a flanking shot in the engagement area. Nice work.
Move completed.
Corporal K's rifle section is lost.
We're under heavy fire. You're mad. Completed.
Curtis in Bosco's Piat team hits and damages the Tiger tank.
We're pinned down.
Curtis hits the Tiger again, but no damage. On the right flank, Private Stone from Lee's rifle section gets into a punching match with the Panzerschreck squad. He falls in battle. But the Panzerschreck start to fall back,
Move completed.
and then surrender. Curtis hits the Tiger again, but again no damage. On the British left flank, Lieutenant Hoffman's team throws grenades at a Schutzen section, moving to outflank the British position. Sergeant Dittmann's rifle section joins in. German forces are pressing forward on both flanks. Curtis hits the Tiger again, but still no damage. The second Jagdpanther is moving to the British left flank. It starts to engage Sergeant Dittmann's rifle section at point-blank range. On the right flank, alone and without his section, Sergeant Lee surrenders to the flamethrower. Understandable. The Tiger is on the move, but the 6-pounder does not have the shot.
Move completed.
Miller's Piat does not have the shot. The 6-pounder does have the shot. The barrel traverses right to engage the tiger in the crossroads.
Move completed.
Fire! Miss! Fire! Hit! No damage. Fire! Miss! Come on! Fire! Miss! The tiger has realised the threat and is turning into the anti-tank gun. Fire! Hit! No damage. Yes! The tiger's crew have had enough. With their tank on fire and under fire, they bail out and surrender. German forces are still massed around von Sundt's house. But good news, the Flammenwerfer squad has been destroyed. Miller has moved into position and has a shot at the Jagdpanther with his Piat. An MG42 squad and Schutzen squad move across the British right flank. The Bren section in the orphanage attempts to target them. The Jagdpanther has moved on to target Lieutenant Hoffman's section, and Private Stone is seriously injured. Lieutenant Hoffman withdraws. Hackett's Vickers team is destroyed. On the left flank, Sergeant Dittman is injured and the remainder of his section decide to follow the boss and withdraw. Perhaps the Jagdpanther will chase them into the line of fire of the 6-pounder and Miller's Piat. The remainder of Lee's rifle section are in hand-to-hand combat with a Schutzen squad. Both soldiers fall.
Heavy fire.
The Germans are pressing hard on the right flank.
Move completed. Move completed.
Fortunately, the Jagdpanther appears to be reversing into the 6-pounder's line of fire. No such luck.
In position.
Abernathy and Carson from Dittman's rifle section decide to race across and reinforce the right flank. The 6-pounder gets a line in the Jagdpanther, but it doesn't take the shot. Too late! The Jagdpanther knocks out the 6-pounder anti-tank gun in the Rail Depot building. The British are now in a desperate position. Their left flank has collapsed. They have lost their only anti-tank gun in the area, and they are under pressure on the right flank, losing 2 rifle sections and one of their Vickers medium machine guns. The good news is that they have knocked out a Jagdpanther and a Tiger and inflicted heavy casualties on the attacking infantry. Lieutenant Hoffman has worked his way back to the centre of the defensive position to shore up morale and keep control of the battle. Updike Civikas in the centre can't find a target. The remainder of Corporal Keith's Bren section in the orphanage is fighting off an MG42 squad. Miller is now in position and tries to target the remaining Jagdpanther. Hit! The Jagdpanther is destroyed by a Piat round to the rear. Outstanding work. But the battle continues.
Conserve ammunition.
Keith's section at the orphanage is out of ammunition.
We're under heavy fire.
Lieutenant Hoffman decides to intervene personally in the fight for the orphanage. Shouting, "Not the children!" he races up the road to the orphanage. Inspired, and despite their injuries, Madden's Bren section joins him. Still no target for Updike.
Move completed. Move completed.
Auf die Beine!
Conserve ammunition.
Don't shoot! Don't
We need to
shoot!
pull back.
The Bren section in the orphanage surrenders.
Herr Oberst! Incoming! Ja! Incoming!
The Germans secure the orphanage objective. Carson from Dittman's section charges the orphanage single-handed. He looks in the window and spots the MG42. Hoffman takes over. Madden and Trotter follow. Hoffman races into the building.
Secure the area.
A burst of Sten gunfire and the remaining MG42 gunner surrenders. Lieutenant Hoffman secures the orphanage. The children are safe.
Area secured.
But with no more combat power, it is time for a ceasefire. The battle ended because both sides agreed to a ceasefire. The Germans gained control of some victory locations. I made Allied progress of 24 against expected progress of 0 by the end of the day. Great vote of confidence from headquarters then. Specifically, the Germans took the von Sandshaus and Hotel Kaiserskron objectives and have pushed up hard against the British front line. British forces took a punishing 26 KIA, 3 MIA and lost the last remaining 6-pounder anti-tank gun in the area of operations. I'm not sure how long they can hold out. German forces took 34 KIA, 3 MIA, 2 Jagdpanthers destroyed, and a Tiger tank abandoned. A Distinguished Service Cross, Military Cross, and Distinguished Conduct Medal were awarded. I select a 7-hour ceasefire period. Time works to my advantage in the defence. Let's examine casualties on both sides. First, the British, from the 1st Airborne Division. Heavy casualties across the company. Amazingly, despite his bravery in this and previous battles, leading his company to knock out multiple tanks, protecting supplies to Frost's men at the bridge, and taking back the orphanage single-handed, Lieutenant Hoffman continues to evade medallic recognition. Make sure you submit your nomination in the comments below. Miller's Piat team is credited with the Jagdpanther kill, and Private Stewart is awarded the Distinguished Conduct Medal. Curtis's multiple hits on the Tiger tank are not counted. Lance Bombardier Lackland's 6-pounder is credited with the other Jagdpanther kill. Gunner Lennon is seriously wounded but awarded the Military Cross. Gunner Leaker is awarded the Distinguished Service Cross. Both Mortars and Updike's Vickers are intact, but sadly Hackett's Vickers team are all killed, including Private Trotter, previously awarded the Distinguished Service Cross. Then the Germans from the 9th Panzer Division. An MG42. 3 Schützen squads, an Aufklärer squad, 2 reserve squads, a Scharfschütze sniper, 2 Jagdpanthers both destroyed. Fuchtinger is credited with the 6-pounder kill and is awarded the assault badge. A Tiger tank abandoned, a Flammenwerfer squad destroyed, a Granatwerfer squad, and a Panzerschreck squad. Another Kampfgruppe wiped out. So, what did we learn? At the outset, I acknowledged the risk in using the same plan over and again. As I said, you get predictable, whereas the enemy gets to innovate. But the defensive plan in this area continues to work. The enemy has been forced to rely on brute force and attrition to counter the defense. Multiple heavy tanks and multiple Kampfgruppe have been destroyed so far. Nonetheless, the cracks are starting to show. Despite the loss of the 6-pounder, the anti-tank plan worked exactly as planned. All 3 units scored hits and 3 heavy German tanks were destroyed. But I do not have any anti-tank gun reinforcements. The Hedgehog defensive plan has also continued to hold out against repeated German infantry attacks, but in exchange for heavy losses amongst the British infantry. And this afternoon, the Germans will start on the front line. I may have to rethink the defensive plan in the next battle, or even consider withdrawing. Let me know what you think in the comments below. As always, thanks for watching. Don't forget to like, comment, subscribe and donate, and stay tuned for the next episode.